It's summertime, the best time to dive into Dairy Queen, the cool treat headquarters, where you'll find the one and only Blizzard-flavored treat, the can't-be-beat taste treat. Others try to top that famous DQ soft serve, but with your choice of lots of delicious mix-ins, no one can beat the taste of a creamy, smooth Blizzard. So dive into DQ and grab a Blizzard.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where you can get sweet treats and tasty eats, just like at Dairy Queen. I am Sam Allman.
I am Elias Sailor. I didn't play the rest of this game, Eli Warren.
Well, I forgot to think of a Dairy Queen bit. Even though we just joked about it for the last 10 minutes, I forgot to prepare my contribution to the bit. So, sorry, I'm Maddy Grace Webben, though.
And today, we'll be finishing up Chrono Cross, playing the last 2 or 4 bosses of the game, and talking about the endings. But before we get to all of that, how was everyone's week?
I had a doozy of a week that I'm not going to talk about. It was rough. There's a reason I didn't play the rest of this game, and it was not because of the game itself. It was because my week fucking sucked.
Yeah.
I might be better now. I don't know, but...
Shit sucks.
Yeah.
Shit sucks.
I tried talking to the person who I told you to about yesterday, and I messaged them a little while ago. It says they're online on Discord. They have not responded. Oh, they're offline, or they're away now, so they might have actually not been available, but yeah, it's just it's been interesting. Bit of a roller coaster, but you know.
You see, I think the problem with your friend group is that they're your friends. See, I just don't have any friends, and I have no drama for my friend group.
You're right. I don't have any drama with you guys because I fucking hate you both.
I thankfully don't have. I have a very small friend group, partly because of COVID, but also partly because after I became close friends with these 2 people and close friends with out here, I kind of not just COVID happened, but also it was just these people are really good friends. So all the rest of the friends just kind of went away. It's not that I had other friends that I bailed on. It's more like there were other potential friendships that hadn't really developed that then did not develop, if that makes sense. Because, I've still only lived here 2.5 years. So I was still generating the friendships, and anyway, luckily, thank goodness, my friend group is really, really solid, and everyone else that I hang out with, well, not anymore, but COVID notwithstanding, is not a friend. They are comrades, and the thing about comrades is that you're focusing more on the shit you got to do, and not as much on interpersonal drama. And you know what? It's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Because it's like I don't have a super close emotional attachment to you, but we're working together. You know what I mean? It's like a coworker, I guess, but better.
Yeah, my week had a lot of really bad in it, but also had a lot of really good in it. So earlier this week, my dad said something vaguely Republican, and I decided that
I hate to see it.
That enough was enough. And so being married, I can't do the thing where people have been saying from now on nobody fuck cops because punish them with a sex strike type thing. And so I can't do that because I'm happily married to a literal angel of a person. But the next best thing is I shouldn't put up with my family's bullshit anymore, because why? and like my wife and kids are black. Why would I vote for, or why would I let anyone who votes for white supremacy be around my kids? So I said as much to my family, and 2 members of my family had a huge fallout of that, and it was really stressful, and I took the day off work to deal with it. And that really sucked. But then summer started Kingdom Hearts 2, and the Kingdom Hearts 2 is so fucking good. And it's maybe even better than I remember. Like, because like Kingdom Hearts 1 has a whole lot of like Disney magic moments that like they were just feeling out because it was the first one. And so there's things like at Peter Pan when you jump off the boat and you can suddenly fly, and it's like they do that like maybe 5 times. It's about like 10 times that they nail, hey, what's a thing from Disney that you want to be a part of and you've always wanted to be there, and now you're there, and it's great. And then all of the plot, like the lore plot, is like tantalizingly drip fed to you in such a better mystery than I remember, because I now know the answer. And so every time I play it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Xemnas, and Xemnas is the bad guy. But I forget that like Xemnas's reveal at the halfway point of the game was like such a big like, okay, well now there's just 500 more questions because I thought I was going after Ansem and now I'm not, and what the fuck. And it's good. It's good shit. Kingdom Hearts 2 is great. Like, say what you will about the whole rest of the series, because I agree that it meandered in the games between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. But Kingdom Hearts 2 is so fucking tight. Like, was Kingdom Hearts 2 the one that had like the shmup bits where you were in the ship? 1, 2, and 3 all have that.
They had that from the first one.
Okay. Yeah, they have it in 1. It's bad, real bad in 1. It is a auto scroller that sometimes you lose in 2, so it's like your speed does literally nothing. It always is at the same speed. That's why the speed run for it, they make it just hard for no reason. So they give you like no HP and just a cockpit and an engine, so you just have to dodge everything because they want something fun to do. And in 3, it's No Man's Sky in Kingdom Hearts, and it's great. The 1 and 3 is amazing, but all 3 of the numbered ones have it.
Yeah, 1 is like, it's god awful, and then 2, they actually pumped it up a lot. There's all these crazy graphics, and it looks exciting, but ironically, it's like somehow even more boring because it's nearly impossible to fail.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay attention, so you're just like, well, this is a thing I gotta do, I guess.
Yeah, and like it's like nearly impossible to fail, but then every now and then, like the one with the pirate ship, like I failed like 15 times in a row, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is bullshit, because there's one of them that just hits you for like 500 damage or whatever, and if you don't have the parts, you do not survive, and it was frustrating. But yeah, like just main game shit is real good and real crunchy, and I really like it. But we at the end of the week, we had our anniversary yesterday, actually, as at time of recording. And
which anniversary is this?
It is our 5th anniversary.
Aww.
Half a decade. Yeah.
A long fucking time.
Congrats.
That is. And so we did the TikTok thing where you go to a store and it's like a scavenger hunt, but you buy gifts for the other person. So it's like something their favorite color, something that reminds me of you, something that we need, something you can wear, your favorite snack, your favorite drink, etc. Those sorts of things. And so we did that at Dollar Tree and Five Below because money's tight. And all the ones on TikTok that I've seen, they like do it at Target, and the guy ends up buying her like a new Mac and a new iPad and a new phone. And I'm just like, cool your jets, sir. But yeah, ours were like
show off.
Yeah, my big show offy one is I got fall themed dishes, because it's always been Summer's dream to have dishes for every season. But and then after that, we played a lot of Kingdom Hearts and dealt with the kids until the kids went to sleep, and then we got dressed up to sit in our living room, and we made a charcuterie board with a whole bunch of different Wisconsin cheeses, and
that's the good shit right there.
So I've never heard of this cheese until I moved to Wisconsin, but it's everywhere here. It's just called farmer's cheese.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. It is the perfect every cheese. So you know how like American is great and it can go on a lot of things, but like the fact that Jack in the Box puts American on a taco, you're like,
Ew.
I don't know.
No.
And like most cheeses are like go on a certain thing, but then you get like Monterey Jack, and Monterey Jack can go on fucking everything, and it's just like a great ass cheese. That's what farmer's cheese is like. It's like, oh, I could put this on a sandwich. I also could grate this like on a soup or a salad. I could put this on a pizza. It goes everywhere. It is delicious and it's cheap, and I love it. Shout out to farmer's cheese. It was the winner that night.
Nice.
But other than that, I realized that we have been slacking in our civil duty enough so that a couple of our fans on Twitter were afraid that we were all going to abstain from voting. So we are not. Everyone who's listening, the deadline to register to vote is coming up. It is, I think it's tomorrow in Texas.
Abstain from voting?
Yeah, no idea. But everyone should go and vote. I know in Wisconsin, you can show up and register to vote and then vote as long as you have a Wisconsin ID. Texas is tomorrow, so we're late for Texas. I'm sorry, guys. But if you are not registered to vote and you still can do so, if you are registered to vote, please go out and vote. If you vote for Trump, you're not in my family's life. But other than that, you can vote however you want to. It's just important that everyone's voice is heard. This is our power. This is how, like we always say, that workers should organize. This is how the average citizen organizes, is by getting their voice heard. If you abstain from the system gets to walk all over you. So don't do that. Go and vote. Vote.org if you don't know how to do it. That's the easiest one to remember and say out loud. So
goat.org. Got it.
Goat.vorg. Maddy, how was your week?
My week was fantastic. October's off to a great fucking start, let me tell you. For me, I mean, not to gloat at those of us with less fortunate weeks. But, okay, so last Sunday, I won't go through the whole story, but long story short, I was getting very frustrated with my streaming hobby. I felt like I was kind of hitting a plateau and wasn't really able to. I mean, the thing about Twitch and the thing about most things is that they really don't care about the little guy, right? They don't care. They're there they're gonna gear their UI and their services and their systems towards Ninja making as much money for them as possible. There's no tools for networking. There's no tools for community. There's basically none of the tools that you would very, very obviously want in order to make any kind of community, have any kind of human connection on their fucking website. But despite that, you still try your best. And basically, after weeks of attempting to do this, I finally made a few connections on the damn website, and got into a couple communities and made like a few friends that were also streamers, and that was awesome. So then on Tuesday, nice. I had my big Tuesday. Yeah, on Tuesday I had my first Mario stream. Technically my second, but my first that I actually intentionally built as such. Instead of just like being like, fuck it, I'll play Mario, of Mario 64. And partially due to those connections of mine, the community bonds I'd formed, but also just due to, I think, just because I was playing a more popular video game than I usually play, I had a great stream with a lot of viewers. And then on yesterday, I had another great stream with a bunch of viewers. We had a really good time. And that was just really gratifying. Not only is it nice to get the viewers because I am thinking about this as a potential hustle, also it's just really, really fun. It's like a really, really enjoyable activity for me to be chatting with my fans. Oh, that's right. Tuesday, I got a lot of a bump, I think, because you get to make your go live message on Twitter, and my go live message and also my post. I mean on Twitch. My go live message on Twitch and also my Twitter post that I made shilling it. I don't post that I'm going live every time I do it on Twitter, because my Twitter is mostly for like I got a lot of people who follow me not for my fucking Twitch stream, so I don't want to spam them twice a week, but I'll spam them maybe once every 2 weeks or so. So I tweeted I was going live, and the way I tweeted it, I said, for the love of God, stop watching the fucking debate and watch me play Mario instead. Because my stream was during the debate. And I got a couple of people like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to watch you instead of watching the debate. I had one person pop in and be like, hi, I got your message, but I am going to watch the debate. Thanks, though. Have a great stream now. And I literally said on stream, I said, no, wait, stop. Come back. And you know what? She came back 2 hours later and was like, I should have watched your stream. Anyway, it was a really good time. I still don't know what happened in that godforsaken debate, because why would I care? Anyway, so that was a great time. And then on Wednesday, I hung out with some friends and had a really great time. Thursday, I went and saw Tenet at the drive-thru movie theater, and it was great. And then I got out of the movie to find out that our big wet boy, our giant rowdy child, our massive, I don't mean massive in like a fat way, I'm just saying he's big because this is a funny word, right? Our rambunctious orange leader has decided to get tickets to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, and I think that's hilarious. And I've been hollering about that for the last 4 days. So, real good week. Loving it. Loving October. It's a good month. My birthday is on the 10th. That's going to be a good time. I'm thriving right now.
Oh yeah. But yeah, let's listen to the song The Dragon God from the Chrono Cross soundtrack, and then we will talk about the plot. So, we last left off at the save point after learning what the fuck is going on from Balthazar. Sorta. So, then we face 3 easy bosses with 0 plot. The white and the black one are, like, kinda hard, but I had both my white and my black plate, so I just could not die. Makes it... Nice. The stealing from the dragons breaks the last half of the game. You just have to walk in, see what color they are, walk your ass back out, put on the plate, walk back in again. And
I'm almost glad that
easy.
I forgot to steal those, because they still weren't hard fights, but like I got to like engage with the game. So I'm almost glad that I didn't get to do that.
Yeah. So then we ride an elevator that has 6 lights on it. And when you turn on the elevator, the yellow light lights up. Then the red light lights up. Then the green light lights up. Then the blue light lights up. Then the black light lights up. And then the white light lights up. And we play a pretty song while it does it. Anywho, so we get to the tip top of Terror Tower. And the frozen flame is there, and it's a little babby Lavos. It's like all curled up, and then it sees us, and it like uncurls and becomes a frozen flame, and it has little bitty like centipede sections and glowing eyes, and that's cool because it talks to us in a second. So if it was just a rock talking to us, that would be like cliche and a ripoff of Final Fantasy. But now it's bugs talking to us, so it's a ripoff of Hollow Knight. So
there's also some lines while we're walking up the steps dramatically. Did you happen to catch those? Because I didn't.
I did not. I think it's just like ominous stuff. I don't think it's anything super important.
I remembered it being cryptic enough where I actually didn't really get what it meant, which is probably why I didn't remember it.
Yeah, but so we get to the top of the tower, and we face who we now know is Harley, but she gets no real moment with us, and she doesn't go out very well. So we'll pour one out for Harley, who deserves better than she gets. But instead, she just has a big old scary text boxless voice that says that humans suck and that they're going to kill us all. And this is the true final boss. It is the Nyx avatar. To go shout outs to season 1. So. And it has 6 phases, and those phases are a yellow element phase, a red element phase, a green element phase, a blue element phase.
Wait. Is it going to be black phase, and then white?
And then a white element phase.
Huh.
Weird.
Huh.
All in all, they're not too hard though. Like it's Nyx Avatar without being as hard as Nyx Avatar was.
Yeah.
And
also, Nyx Avatar, after you did all those phases, there was an actual real boss at the end, and this game doesn't do that.
Yeah. So you just face it 6 times, and it goes down pretty easy. And after it dies, Balthazar shows up to remind us that the dragons are extra dimensional, and this is just its projection here, so we have to go outside of time to kill it. And he mentions that the Devourer of Time, which is the dragon god's thing, is a fusion between Lavos and a being from our planet, but he doesn't go much into it. And he says that all it wants to do is devour all of space-time. And he gives us a time egg, and then the frozen flame wakes up and talks to us and says that we have to go back to where it all began so that we can finish this. And this kind of doesn't make any damn sense to me. And like, Kid talks about it later to be like, my reading of it is correct, and it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't make any damn sense. So the dragons, as we learned last week, were the anti-fate from the Reptite future that got sent back here. But if the anti-fate from the Reptite future is Lavos mixed with the person from our planet, and they were fighting Lavos, why Chrono Cross?
I don't
why the
know.
game?
That's not my take on. That's not my take on it at all. It's okay. So one weird thing about this game is that the term Devourer of Time first appears in the UI as the description of the dragon god. He's never referred to that before. He's referred to as the dragon god, the dragon god, the dragon god. And then when you fight him, all of a sudden the UI says, I believe it actually says Time Devourer, probably for space limitation reasons. And then afterward, they say stuff about the Time Devourer, but they don't say like that thing.
Balthazar does. Balthazar does.
Says
I just wrote it in my notes. I can read it straight up if you would like.
Sure.
Let me pull it up. Boop a doop a doop boop boop. Scrolling past the bosses that don't matter. Okay, so goes, that thing, the dragon god, is only a quasi-existence, a temporary form that the real dragon god uses in order to appear within this dimension. The actual dragon god was consumed long ago in the distant past, integrated by the entity known as Lavos in a time on the other side of the dimensional darkness. The frozen flame is a splinter from the extraterrestrial being Lavos. The one who connects with the frozen flame, in effect, links with Lavos itself. As the mediator between Lavos and living things, that one will gain extraordinary powers by binding with the new seed of destruction, the Devourer of Time.
So it says it will gain powers by binding with the Devourer of Time. It's not saying it is the Devourer of Time. It's explicitly saying it isn't. I read it as it. I think that the fact that the dragon is briefly referred to as the Devourer of Time is a very strange thing, because it all makes sense except for that.
Yeah, if it's not that, it makes a lot more sense.
I see it as it could be a translation thing, or I just think it's a little bit of. I just think it's a little bit of sort of impressionism, where I see that as when it says devoured long ago, they didn't say merged with a new creature. They said devoured, destroyed, eaten. It got. This is the last gasp of this thing that hates you, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think it probably maybe quote unquote merged the Devour of Time, but only in such a way that it was overcome by rage and anger. Not like, in other words, what I'm saying is I don't think the thing we just fought is literally the same thing as the thing we're about to fight. I don't think they're the same thing.
Yeah.
That's how I read it. Like this is the dragon doesn't like people, and he's not fighting against Lavos. It's not really dragon versus Lavos. It's dragon versus fate. And frankly, Lavos isn't related to either of those. Lavos isn't like Lavos sort of like powers fate, but it's not like fate is exerting his will through Lavos. It's not like Lavos is exerting his will through fate. Like, I think the story essentially has nothing to do with Lavos, aside from Lavos being the reason it all happens.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And rereading it, and the word integrated is a bad choice by the localizer. Shout outs to the localizer. You did a great job. You're in the programmer's ending. I read your name like a minute ago and I completely forgot it. But shout outs overall, did a great job. But I think using integrated here, if they would have left it as consumed or something, so it's like the dragon god was consumed long ago in the distant past, integrated by the entity known as Lavos in a time on the other side of dimensional darkness. If it was consumed, absorbed, something like that, to make it sound like Lavos won more, it probably wouldn't have thrown me off. Reading it now, it's making a little bit more sense, which makes Kids Thing in a second not make any sense, because I thought Kids Thing was solving the questions I had.
Interestingly enough, integrated is used later, which is interesting.
No, it makes more sense now, but one of my main takeaways is I think this game needed a third disc, at least a third or a full second disc is probably more accurate, because disc 2 was so short. But it just, because like thinking back to Legend of Dragoon and Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX and all of these explicitly pasted explicitly is not a good word. Exquisitely is what I was looking for. Exquisitely paced PlayStation games that use the discs as like chapters and stuff. You have two kind of normal chapters where you have the first chapter where you're going after the Emperor and Lavos dies, and that's pretty okay. And then you try to do that again in the next country, but then Lloyd screws everything up, and then you have this whole second half of the game is living in this new weird ass world that Lloyd has dropped you into, and things go JRPG crazy. We get like 4 hours of JRPG crazy in this game, and I feel we should have had like 8 to 12 hours of JRPG crazy, just to kind of not have this plot hinge on the word integrated here, for example.
Yes, but anyway, I don't know. That's I was also struck because I actually remember this game's plot surprisingly well, but this was the one thing that I completely forgot. Like when I saw that the dragon god was named Devourer of Time, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Because I did not remember that at all, and it fucked with my pre-existing understanding of the game's plot from my previous playthroughs. Right? I even had a hard time writing about it when I was writing my takeaways for my special stream. I did touch on it, but actually no, I had a paragraph touching on it, but then I deleted it not really because I was having trouble, more just because it was off topic. But still, I was like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, it's wild. Anyways, Terra Tower starts to collapse, so we get the fuck out of there. Then it turns into a really cool looking final dungeon that was left on the cutting room floor, and we can no longer enter it.
That actually what happened?
I believe so. There's things that refer to like location data that refers to Terra Tower final form or something like that in the code. But the main thing is just it looks like another dungeon. It looks like in Lost Odyssey, where we crashed into the big thing and then we had to leave it and we come back to it like one more time for the final boss. It looked like that sort of thing, but we don't do that. So my notes here were me being more confused. I was like, maybe the fact that it's Lavos all the way down is the point, because kids say in the end we're all the same, we're all just trying to get power, which made me think, oh, it's supposed to be Lavos, like they have special Lavos and we have a regular Lavos, like fighting each other over time because we just want to be strong. And it kind of made sense there, but reading back to it, that doesn't seem like the take. So I don't know what the fuck kid's talking about. But we all agree that we need to kill the Time Devourer to get everything back to normal. Nay, not normal, but our new life of not being governed by fate. Kid says that winning or losing isn't what's going to change things going forward, but how we fight, which is alluding to the true ending. If you get the Chrono... So the thing that fucking annoys me about this true ending thing, which I'll get into a lot later, is that all of the hints that you need the Chrono Cross to do the thing happen if you have the Chrono Cross, because the kids will pop out like they did for Eli and be like, oh, you don't have the Chrono Cross, never mind,
go fuck yourself.
instead of like oh, if you had the Chrono Cross, it has the power to give you the good ending. Eli, go and find the Chrono Cross so you can get the good ending. But it's everything. They only talk about the Chrono Cross if you have the Chrono Cross, which I think is maybe a mistake.
Otherwise they're just like, well, bye.
Yeah. But we go to Opasa Beach and we travel to Homeworld, and there we find the Chrono Trigger kids who go over all of the plot that we might have missed and say things a little more explicitly, things that we've already all touched on. So this story all started 2,400 years in the future, 14 years ago and 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but truly 10,000 years ago. And when the destruction of Zeal, Shala was sucked into a vortex with Lavos. They got smooshed together to be one being, the Devourer of Time. Half of it wants to save everything. The other half is Lavos, who's just real hungry. And Shala heard the cry of Surge, who was the Chrono Trigger, through time and came back to help him. And this was the huge magnetic storm that took Fate off of line and made Surge into the Arbiter. Then she cloned herself. Not sure how. That's the verb that they used. It's a thing that she can do, I guess.
She's merged with an all-powerful god being, so she can probably do lots of stuff.
She probably can. So she sent the clone to this dimension to find Surge. She gave the clone her pendant, which was Shala's pendant, which was Marl's pendant, which was the magic pendant from Chrono Trigger that was everywhere.
Which was the Time Gate wand.
Yes. And this pendant will always rewind time to get Kid out of danger. That's why she always seemed to survive, even when she couldn't possibly survive. And that's because the medallion was helping her. Because, of course, Kid is Shala's daughter clone. Everything that Balthazar and Luca and Robo and all of these people that were mechanizing in the background were for was not anything to do with Chronopolis, was not anything to really do their stated goals. Their goals were they saw 14 million futures, and this was the only one in which we were able to defeat Lavos. And so they did all of Chronopolis, all of the war with the Reptites, all of the everything so far was just to make Surge get splintered off into a separate dimension to show up here with the Chrono Cross to save the day. Again, they don't say this if you don't have the Chrono Cross. Kind of weird. But Kid also is Bill and Ted, so she reminds herself to travel 10 years into the past to save Surge and 6 months into the past to pull Surge to the other dimension and kick this whole thing off. She says, well, I haven't done that yet. It's like, oh, you will in the future. So she Bill and Ted's it. So since Surge has come into contact with both Kid and Shala, he is uniquely suited to this battle. His 48 friends are just there for moral support. You go and talk to, so that was all from Kid Luca. So when you talk to Kid Marley, She's Marl. Sorry, it's Harley and Marl. Marl says that a new life form is about to be born, and only the Chrono Cross can sing the melody of harmony to heal it. And in its suffering, use the Chrono Cross. Remember the melody. That's everywhere.
Chrono. I want to make a slight modification to that description because I think that there's a very important element of Marl's speech here. That's a little bit. I mean, it's what you said, but slightly more. I actually pulled up the script myself because where is it? You alone can decide how the new Lavos, which has encaged Scala within it, will evolve from here. Your actions will determine whether in the future all time is devoured by Lavos, sending the world into everlasting death. Balthazar foresaw this was going to happen in his world in the year 2300, and he used a turn to prevent it from happening no matter what it took. So it's not, I sure hope you can save Lavos. It's one of two things is going to happen here. Because it's not status quo or the good ending. It's good ending or bad ending. Which I think is important to note. Because the bad ending, if you want to know what happens in it, it relies, we'll see in a second, entirely on interpretation. So
yeah. It was really cool.
I think without that line of dialogue, you can't understand the bad ending.
Yeah. So, Baby Chrono says that Homeworld is the wrong reality, and it's the one that was made when Shala intervened, and it's the creation of this timeline that enabled everything to be fixed. Also, Link's, for no good reason, was Wazuki. Doesn't really make sense, really. They just wanted to throw one more twist at you right before the end.
It doesn't mean anything thematically or conceptually or anything, really.
It doesn't mean a goddamn thing. It's just like, oh, Link's body was Wazuki the whole time. And it's like, well, my dad wasn't a cat, so could have just been a cat. Whatever. Don't give a shit. So we go off to fight the final boss.
I mean, I guess that is helpful because it does mean that everything in the plot was set in motion on that night, ... 14 years ago, ... Because that does say that not only was it the creation of, was it the sealing off of fate, and the choosing of Surge as the Arbiter, but also the creation of the villain himself. So that makes sense how it's like, yeah, no, this all started here. There's no outside influences that caused this to happen. But also, like, it doesn't matter. It's just it doesn't matter what the explanation is. It just matters that it has an explanation, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's like, sure.
Like, it doesn't matter that it was Wazuki that was changed that night. It could have just been like, and then fate showed up that night because of blah, 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 and it would have been just as fine. Just
yeah.
Like,
whatever.
Oh, yeah, it was just that night is the important part.
It's like in Homestuck when you're in like chapter fucking 6.5, they finally close the thousands and the like 7,000 page long time loop with the bunny, and the after closing that loop that we've been waiting for literally like 6 years of comic, the narration is just like, so that's how that happened. Like acknowledging the fact that it literally doesn't matter at all. They were just stringing us along because it was funny, and now we figured it out. Cool. Yep. This has no meaning.
So instead of standing on the green space gate, we stand on the purple one, and we use the time egg to go through it, and we fight the final boss. There is no dialogue. Just Lavos, who is much smaller since polygons are way more expensive than sprites. And there's a big purple crystal with Shala inside of it. So from here, we're going to listen to the final boss track and then talk about the endings instead of a density section this week, because there's no more game to talk about the density section. So we're going to talk about all 12 endings. So, if you here while you fight Shalavos, as I like to call her, you get one of two endings. If you kill Lavos, it fades to black. That's it. The end. And I like it a lot. It's real cool.
I think a discussion of the quote-unquote bad ending, I think, is not complete without a discussion of the FMV that plays during the bad ending. Because it's weird.
What was it?
Well, it's the same as the FMV that plays during the good ending, but it's the credits video is like weird.
The kid in the
like it's weird, and I think it's important to talk about it. So if you get the game,
I didn't actually get the the bad ending.
It's the same. It's the same as the good one, but that's still weird. So if you get the bad ending, the screen fades to. Oh, you get the bad ending for the record by. I think Sam already said it. Sorry, by killing it. Yeah. It's a long fight, by the way. It's easy, but boy, bitch has got a lot of health. Screen just fades to black. He screams a lot. It goes to the ending credits. The ending credits, the most beautiful song you've ever heard in your goddamn life. Seriously, it's one of the best things Mitsuda has ever written. Plays. It's a vocal theme, and then it does the typical thing where while the credits are rolling, it does the FMVs from the game. It's like reminding you of the game you just played. Lots of video games do this. But then it gets weird. After the second or third one, there's a thing you haven't seen before, and it looks like it's live action. So then it turns out that interspersed throughout this video is these scenes of basically a real person essentially cosplaying Scala, although she looks nothing like Scala, because guess what? We saw Scala for 5 seconds, so we just intuit that it's Scala. It looks like Kid, except she's wearing all a flowy white dress, which is not something Kid would wear, right? So it's this girl wearing a flowy white dress, and she's in the real world. There's a shot of her walking along some train tracks. There's a shot of her just walking up some stairs in what seems like maybe a developed area, like some stone steps. There's a shot of her, I think, sitting on a park bench, and she's just walking around looking kind of wistful, and that's all we get. I will say, Sam, there's actually a few elements of that we don't get. There's actually a few live action clips that it doesn't show in the bad ending. So even in that ending FMV, it is slightly different. It's very ambiguous. You don't know what it is. We just see this person wandering around. And 99% of people who play this game without any kind of guide or anything, this is the ending they're going to get, at least their first try. And yeah, I think it's I can share once we get to memorable moments, I'll share my actual thoughts about the bad ending, but I think I put this game on a list of games that has, I think, literally 2 games on it so far, which is this game and Pikmin, which is games where the bad ending is incredible and moving and kind of more thematically relevant than the good ending. I actually didn't get the bad ending of Pikmin because I was really good at Pikmin the first time I played it. I really liked that game and I clicked with it, so I played phenomenally. But later Bernard told me to watch the bad ending on YouTube, and I did, and I was like, holy shit, that's an incredible ending and is kind of more thematically resonant than the actual ending. But anyway, love that. I think it's a beautiful ending, but I don't need to explain anymore because there's nothing to explain. Figure it the fuck out. I mean,
that's it.
Okay, I will go ahead and say this. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I think the implication here is that the reason you don't see anything happen is because nothing does happen, because, as Luca said, this can go one of 2 ways. So I think that by fighting Lavos, by doing violence upon it, basically, by not singing the Song of Harmony, all of existence is destroyed. I'm pretty sure that's what happens. So it's a very, very bleak ending.
It is very bleak. It didn't occur to me that might be what it was implying. I was just like, wow, this is fucking anticlimactic. You kill Lavos, credits roll.
I don't totally know. I think there's 2 ways to interpret it. One is that literally everything is destroyed. Although here, re-looking at the script, I see now that it might actually be eventually all of time and space is going to be destroyed. I'm re-looking at the script. That was
my take of it. Was not that it happened right then, but it's it fades to black because you're not on that you're not on the 1 out of 14 million timelines yet.
Yeah.
And so this is just another shot at the light bulb. And so it starts again.
It could be that. And either way, even if the universe doesn't literally get destroyed, I think what the non-ending definitely does suggest thematically is a complete lack of any kind of thematic resolution. It's like the characters, because the characters essentially failed to learn their lesson, and therefore the characters, not just Surge and Kid, but everyone, the dragons, Fate, all the people of El Nido Archipelago, Poor, humanity just fails to learn its lesson and fails to grow and fails to... Yeah, it's like there's no resolution, there's no closure, there was no point to any of this. And everyone's just left, and everyone, after it's resolved, everyone's just thinking, well, I'm just as confused and empty on the inside. Humanity is just as broken as it was at the start of our journey. So that's also a depressing ending, even though literally everything doesn't get destroyed at the end. So yeah, either I think those are equally valid. The game doesn't really explain either way, but yeah, I think it owns. Cool. But the good ending also rules. Sam, what happens in the good ending?
So the good ending instead is where you pick up on the hints that I've been hammering home the last two episodes, and
we're being more obvious about the hints than the game is, by the way.
100%. The game basically just like whispers it into like 3 rooms away from you, and you're like, "What was that?" And they're like, "Nah, nothing."
So the game doesn't ever say it obviously, but it does say it like a billion times, but every time it says it, it's extremely subtle. So it's like, what if I whispered a secret very, very quietly so that you could barely hear it, but I whispered it for like every single day? Maybe eventually you'll pick up on it, but you probably won't.
Yeah. So what you do is you use all 6 elements in the order: yellow, red, green, blue, black, white, and
all the lucky charms.
All the lucky charms. And then you use the Chrono Cross, and it plays the tones that go with it a couple of times, and Shala's eyes open, and you like Shalavos kind of dances to it for a second, and then Shala breaks out of the crystal, and Lavos disintegrates, gone once and for all. And then Shala says, and I'm just going to read it. It's kind of long, but if I read it, I don't have to interpret it. So there we go.
Honestly, it's easier to just read it because heaven forbid we summarize it.
Yeah. So she says, I have been waiting for an eternity, just for this very moment. Meaninglessly hurting one another, the disappearing life forms, the words that become deleted, the thoughts that become buried, the pool of cells that slowly evaporate, the echoes of consciousness that slowly fade, love to hate, hate to love. Why are we born? Why do we die? Evolution? The survival of the fittest? What is there to be achieved from harming one another, killing one another? The eggs that we call planets and the innumerable spermatozoa that gather around these that we call life forms.
Spermatozoa.
When one of those countless seeds inseminates a planet, a new universe is born. But until that occurs, hundreds of millions of years will pass, and innumerable life forms will be born and then die. That is the be-all and end-all. Everything exists for that one moment, and so that the universe can evolve into the next dimension. Does that make us all just pawns? Are each of our short lives nothing but a cheap sacrifice just so the one chosen life form can be born? No, that is not the case. Each and every one of us has a chance of becoming that one chosen life form which inseminates a planet. Yes, it could be you, in quotes. Genes and environment. Each of us tries to do his best under the limited conditions we each are dealt. Each life form that attempts to eke out a decent life for itself forms a link in the golden chain that links to the creation of a new universe. If one link is missing, there will be no future. There is no such thing as a useless life form. No such thing as a pawn. Every single thing in the whole of nature is perhaps just dreaming a dream of life. All of them are also perhaps nothing more than a dream dreamt by the planet before it is born. Oh, but yes, eventually all dreams will return to Zervin, the Sea of Dreams. Last line in the game, dropping a new proper noun for us to remember. Surge, don't go yet, Surge. It's all right. Everything is all right now. Time, which has been divided, will be unified again now. The time for farewells has come. You will lose all memory of this whole adventure and return to your own time. But this time, you will be able to live your own life. And then from there, you see a few lines from every character in your party, which means if you brought Kid like I did, you get one character's lines, and there are 46 possible. Eli, since you didn't actually play it, who's your favorite character? And I can read their goodbye for you.
Zoa.
All right, let me find this.
You have to yell it because it's going to be in all caps.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Spermatozoa.
Spermatozoa. Yeah, it's my favorite character. Like, can I talk about this real quick? Like,
go for it.
I know it's supposed to be really deep and metaphorical, but all it sounds like is maybe you'll get to be the one to stick your dick in this planet.
I'm gonna fuck the planet.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Also, I
literally
thought it was funny
fuck
that
the
Sam
world.
pronounced the word spermatozoa wrong, considering Sam's the only person who has intimidated somebody
True.
in this chat.
I mean, I certainly won't ever.
That ship has certainly sailed for me.
Yeah. So Zoa says, "Be well. I hope I can fight alongside you again." And that's it.
Nice.
It's just one line for everybody.
Great.
Well, what one character did you get?
So I had Irenaeus with me, and Irenaeus says, let me find her, looking for a splash of blue. There she is. She goes, "Thank you. My sister's dream has to become a reality and has to waken from his nightmare. Should you ever hear that song again somewhere, please think of us."
Nice.
Like.
Oh, also your characters also do give a I'm going to give my motivational speech before the final boss line as well, but we don't need to go back and read them, but they do that too.
No, not at all.
I chose two characters that have no plot at all. So what they said was just completely it didn't even have a chance to be moving. There's nothing they could have said that could have been meaningful. I took Draggy, who literally is a dragon who hatched one day, and Leah, who is Leah, right? So so Draggy, who I named Yoko because of Yoko Taro, because of Drakengard, says, "Thanks, Serge. We'll always be friends, right? Always." That's it. And then Leah, who I called Liam, they say, "Land calling Leah. Time Leah go home. Leah already have name for Leah's child. Big strong name." Oh wait, this actually rolls. Ayla, new song of land. Bye, Serge. Ooga booga. So actually, Liam named their child, which didn't realize. Oh, they probably are going to have a child in the future. They're not preggers. Anyway, they're going to name their child Ayla, which is cool because they are just
the LP that I do says that Leah is Ayla's time traveling mom, which would be wild.
Oh, motherfucker! You know what?
Because she talks about
a
village, and there's no village in Gaia's Navel.
Yeah, I attempted to resolve that subplot. A lot of the characters have loyalty missions where you can do something else with their subplot. I don't either she doesn't have one, or I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think
I tried going to Gaia's Navel in both dimensions and couldn't find anything. But again, this game's pretty obtuse, so maybe there's more to her subplot. But maybe there's not. Maybe that's just it. But that rules.
Yeah. So after all this, Serge wakes up on the beach, and Lena is like, "Yo, dude, are you okay? You were supposed to bring me a Komodo scale." And Serge is like, "Yeah, but what about insert plot of Chrono Cross?" And she's like, "Are you fucking high or something? Come on, let's go back home." And then we get the book from the beginning. It opens, and it's a journal / letter from Shala / Kid that says that we'll meet again somehow. And it's, as I found out, because I had just finished beating Chain of Memories when we did it, it's almost line for line the same poem that Naminé reads at the end of Chain of Memories, which is weird. but probably isn't. It doesn't mean anything. It's not like they're both like ripping off some other one. They just both happen to be talking about different dimensions with different people and shit. But then we see the FMV of Kid on the Beach that we've seen basically every hour on the hour of this game, where she turns around to the camera and the camera goes into her eyeball. But this time she's dressed as Shala instead of Kid, and it's cool. And then, as we said before, in credits, Shala is in Shibuya, played by a live action actress, and it's wild.
So the shot that there's a few shots that aren't in the bad ending but are in the good ending. So the good ending, I guess, gives a little bit more detail. Specifically, the last few shots where instead of her just walking upstairs, where it's really vague, the one where she's in downtown big city Shibuya, and you can see
Scramble Crossing. Yeah, if you've played The World Ends With You, you know all of your landmarks in Shibuya.
Yeah, so the fact that she's in like modern day world with taxi cabs driving around honking, that's only in this ending. The bad ending only had the more abstract ones, and not the ones that are a little bit more like, oh god, that's what's happening here, huh? There's still no explanation, but that's what it is.
Yeah. Just setting up for a Chrono 3 that will never happen. If it ever happens, I'll be mad.
Oh, also, you did forget to say, before that final shot of her on the beach, she does literally say, I will find you, ... even I have to search the world over. Sometime, somewhere, I'm sure I will find you. So that, I think, informs what we're seeing with the FMVs somehow.
Yeah. But those are the two main endings, so let's get fucking silly and talk about the other stupid-ass 10 endings. None of them are as dumb as the ones in Chrono Trigger because there aren't as many assets. Because Chrono Trigger had like 5 different whole time periods that look crazy different that you could do stuff in. We have specifically one. But so that none of them are as crazy, but they're still hilarious.
And I mean, you can't have massive effects on thousands of years of timeline because you don't do time travel.
Yeah. So basically, the only thing that changes is what happens at Fort Dragonia every time, and it's great. So the first one happens if you immediately load your New Game Plus, and then you immediately go to the beach and you kill Lavos as Surge before you do literally anything else. Don't even fight the Komodo dragons, just run straight there and do it, and you get the developer ending. It's huge. The developer ending of Chrono Trigger was just the end of time, and basically you just had like one person standing in for each department, and then you had the dream team, and that was it. This one, it's the entire Viper Manor dungeon. Each room in the entire dungeon is based on a different department of the game, and there's
That's
like 15 awesome. NPCs there, and so there's a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff that where like people had questions, the developers like answered those questions in the developer ending. That's why, because Chrono Cross bombed there and there aren't as much like stuff written about it, we still know all of our answers because it's in the developer ending, which is cool. But the one thing that I think is hilarious there is the character artist. The only thing he says is that he's mad that there are so many characters in this game that he had to draw. And I'm like, me too, buddy.
That's funny.
Oh man, I know that feeling. It's like when I keep making characters in Final Fantasy, and I'm like, now I gotta fucking draw them all.
One tiny little fact that I found out on the internet by reading some interviews and stuff. This is pretty minor, but according to the devs, both the you know how a lot of Final Fantasy games and Xenogears have like Ultimanias, which are like art books that also have like extra plot info and stuff. This game sort of had one. Like, I don't know exactly what it was, but it had some kind of Chrono Ultimania thing. According to the devs, anything in the Chrono Ultimania and also anything in the other endings is canonically ambiguous. So if any of these endings say something that might help us understand the actual things that happen, we can take it or leave it.
Yeah, which
like they explicitly were like, yeah, no comment on whether that's canon or not.
Yeah, which in 2 endings will actually explain some things, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Thank you for mentioning that. So the second ending you can get is if you have not picked between Guile, Nikki, or Pierre yet. And so in this one, Serge and Lena get married, and Serge is a fisherman who never ever leaves Arnie. Kid, now alone, storms Viper Manor by herself, kills Lynx with her dagger, steals the dragon tear, and ends the whole game right then and there.
Good for her.
And then she takes over the Acacia Dragoons and the whole of El Nido and becomes its Emperor General Kid and rules it with an iron fist.
Good for
Beautiful.
her.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hashtag girl boss.
Right?
Hashtag more female warlords.
Yes.
More female war criminals.
Yes. The next ending is if you beat Lavos after Kid is out of commission and you've decided to not give her the antidote. So you haven't resolved that plotline, but you have decided to let her just die. And so if you beat Lavos there, Surge works at Lisa's element shop in Termina. Lena comes to check on him,
cute.
and they have a like bickering back and forth over who loves Surge more, pretty much. And it's quote unquote funny and ends. And then we see over in Viper Manor, Kid's life was saved by Norris, who got her the Hydra humor. Like he came across her just happening to in the timeline of the game, Poor invades that place around that time anyways. So it's like he came into evade, saw the Kid was dying, and was like, oh, okay, well, let me heal you.
I just happened to have this, like, Hydra gizzards on me.
Yeah.
Well, they are invaders. Maybe they had already like destroyed. They probably had like destroyed a few ecosystems already at this point, maybe.
And in the in the game, it talks about how Hydras are extinct in El Nido, but not on the mainland, and Poor's on the mainland. So maybe he was just like, oh, Hydra humor, shit, we got tons of that in the kitchen or something. Either way, Kid was saved by Norris. That's the canonically ambiguous part of this, but he puts her to work in the kitchen forever. And so instead, Pierre, Solt, and Pepor are now the heroes. So they go to fight Lynx and die.
Perfect.
It's great.
That's the best ending.
It's so good.
See, that can't be canon because obviously they would win.
You're right.
No. So the next one is the same as before, but if you heal Kid with the Hydra humor, so you don't resolve the whole plot line, but you pick to heal her. It's basically the same same scene, but instead of Lena walking in to fight over you, it's Kid. But then while Kid is like professing her love to Surge, Korcha comes in and professes his love to Kid and asks her to marry him. But Kid was like, nope, and left. And Matcha came in instead. So Korcha proposes to his mom, and it's pretty funny. But that's it. Salt and Pepor still die. Then in this next one, you have to pick to heal Kid, but also have already saved Rasley and picked Nikki earlier. So it's kind of a if then sort of ending. So in this ending, Kid, Surge, Nikki, and Rasley change the Radical Dreamers from being Kid's vague thieving guild into a new rock opera, and it's pretty fucking dope.
Nice.
But then because it's like super selling out, and like Lena is so like, oh my god, are we going to even get tickets? Is it standing room only? Are we going to get seats? And so Lynx comes down from Fort Dragonia like the fucking John Travolta gif, like, hello, heroes? Anybody gonna stop me? I'm just taking over the world here. Anyone give a shit? So this next one has a huge time you can get it. It's basically any time after becoming Lynx, but before making it back to another world. Lynx and Harley get married in Marbule and settle down.
Oh, love
so
that for them.
It's like extensive, like goes through their life, like they're restoring Marbule and everything's great. It's kind of sweet. But so since there are no heroes, Fargo, Radius, and Zappa, the old fogies of the group, decide that they have to take it up. So they go to fight Dark Surge and Harley, and it cuts before we see if they win the fight or not. I think they probably do. Dark Surge was a fucking pushover.
Hell yeah.
So specifically Fargo and Radius his like trucks. I've never played with Zappa, so I don't know how good he is, but Fargo and Radius kicked total ass. So I think they won. They probably were okay.
Yeah, I bet they would.
The timeline probably was fine. So then the next one is really tiny window to get. So remember a couple of weeks ago when we got like every person that's ever been in Viper Manor join our team at the same time?
Yes.
Well, Riddle joins first, and then you get to go to the Zelbess and you get the other 4 Dragoons. You have to have Riddle, but not the 4 Dragoons. So if you stop there and go to the thing,
literally in between 2 cutscenes.
Yes, you get this ending. So the Dragoons decide they should actually, I don't know, defend their homeland that's being invaded. So they all rise up to take on Lynx and Dark Surge themselves, and they presumably win. Surge and Harley are still shacked up in Marbule, but then Kid, free from Dark Surge's ilk, finds Lynx, thinks it's Lynx, and kicks their ass and ruins their happily ever after. So the next one is after Harley leaves the party, but before you do anything in Chronopolis. In that one, Fate wins. Dark Surge just walks in and grabs the frozen flame, and everyone lives happily ever after. Because as we learned, Fate kind of was okay in the end, and so if you never fight Fate, then it's okay. But then the next one, you have to go and get the Master Mune, but not raise Terra Tower yet. So in this one, Viper Manor has become a school, and it's cute as shit. General Viper is the headmaster now, and Riddle is the teacher, and it's super cute. The Dragoons, now being kicked out of their place because of all the children, they run a bar in Termina, and it's a pretty cute, funny ending. Then the last one, you kill Shalavos before you beat Terra Tower. And this one is the best ending. In it, the dragons win, and the demi-humans team up with the dragons and kill off all these colonial-ass humans, and they live in peace. And Harley just walks around and is like, you know what? This isn't so bad. And it's cool.
That is good. Good for them.
So,
yeah.
So, that's all the endings to Chrono Cross. So let's listen to the end credits vocal track and talk about our thoughts on the whole game and wrap up this series. Before you say
that, those notes we keep mentioning, or those elements that was a certain order, we did also mention they each play a different note. The song you're about to hear, that's the melody.
That's cool. I didn't even put that together.
No, the chorus of this song is the 7 notes.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so now you can play it.
Hell yeah. Okay, so thoughts on this game?
I am going to go last. I'm not going to give you my whole fucking shtick, but as I mentioned, I did kind of do I did a whole thing for this game. So I'm going to vastly abbreviate that with some thoughts, but y'all go first.
All right. Eli, without going too hard, because we hit a lot of the problems of this game last week.
Sorry. I'm trying to be a positive boy. I swear I am.
As an aside, it makes it really good content that you try to be a posy boy and then you aren't every time, because it's not like, because there's a lot of gaming content on the
I know you're going
internet.
This, and I agree.
The Let's Play I'm doing that I'm reading for my notes is one of them, where it just starts out being like, all right, let's play this stupid ass game. Oh, look, there's a talking mushroom. It's so fucking stupid. Oh, what the hell is this pseudoscience they're throwing at me? It's so stupid. This game is stupid.
No,
I'm wasting.
I'm not gonna be like that.
And so when you start trying to be a posy boy, and you end up with all of the things that you don't like about it, I really like arriving to that point with you, because it brings up valid things about it, that makes me have to answer when I don't agree with it. Because it's like, if everyone here, we just were like, let's play this stupid ass game and nothing's fucking good, which is a lot of content, but then also
so much gamer content is like, we're gonna talk about why we're gonna pretend something sucks, whether or not it even sucks.
Yeah, but then on the other end of it, Chrono Trigger, as even though it's probably the best game we've played, it's one of my least favorite seasons we've done, because every time we're like, yeah, and then wasn't it fucking cool when Chrono came out and just was like a fucking badass?
We all just agreed on
cool.
Everything being fucking awesome.
I feel like Chrono Trigger is a less interesting thing for this podcast. Though funny enough, it would be an interesting thing for me to stream, because y'all haven't watched my stream yet, because I know y'all's schedules don't align with it. But my stream is mostly just me saying this owns every time something happens in the video game. So if Chrono Trigger, if I was playing Chrono Trigger, I would just be like, holy shit, this owns, this rules, this rocks, I love this, for 4 straight hours, and it would have everyone insane.
Yeah. And so so if you have any final thoughts on the game you would like to share, Eli?
This was lower on my list than a lot of the games that we played. I will say that. But I think that there were good aspects to it. I thought all the characters were interesting to some degree, not as much as Chrono Trigger, because like they had fewer characters, and I feel like when you have fewer, you can do more with the fewer. Like it's a less is more kind of thing. Like you can develop those fewer characters more than if you have 40 characters and you're just putting them everywhere. Like, cool idea, but the execution was not great.
Like that's why I really like Final Fantasy 15's 4 main dudes, as I feel like I know them intimately. But say Final Fantasy 6, which I really like 3 of the 14 playable characters in that game, it's because those 3 were treated like the only characters in the game.
And
like,
I will say that
and Go-Go don't exist. Realm barely exists. Strago barely exists. Cyan barely exists.
Final Fantasy 6 is my absolute favorite Final Fantasy, but like when I've replayed it, I've been like, I forgot this was a character. Like, I forgot about Realm entirely until the last time I played Final Fantasy VI. I'm like, oh yeah, you're a thing. And I forgot about Strago, and I was like, oh yeah, you exist. So yeah, like I agree. There's too many characters in Final Fantasy VI as well. And yeah, like 40 playable characters. This is 4 times that many. 40 playable characters is far too many.
It's so many.
And I am someone who prides himself on being an alcoholic in MMOs, but even I know when to quit.
It's a little funny because I feel like it's become pretty much bog standard at this point that your typical JRPG has like, if you have a 3 character party, you're gonna have a cast of around 7, right? Around 7. Heck, FF7 did that. FF7 was home. FF7 had 7 and then 2 optionals, right? And it's like 7, maybe 8, maybe 9 if you have a 4 or 5 person party. That's just like, maybe like whatever the size of your party is, double that, and that's usually about what you get to play with, right? I think that the few games that I know where you have where you just don't get to pick a party at all, I love that. Dragon Quest 8, you don't get to pick a party. There's 4 characters. Dragon Quest 7, there's 5 characters, but the 2 that you don't get to pick, they swap out for plot reasons. Final Fantasy 15, as Sam said, and I can't really think of any other. Oh, Breath of Fire, Dragon Quarter, 3 characters, you don't get to swap them. I love that. I think more games should try that. I love it when games do that. It's so rare in the genre.
And then like both games that have a gigantic cast of potential characters have a 6-person in-battle party. So Suikoden and Pokemon both have, you get to pick 6 of them. And even then in Pokemon, if you like, it's not this exact math, but say there's 100 Pokemon. Most of them are 3 evolution, so there's really only 300 characters you can actually choose from, type thing. And so it's like you have a titload of characters that can join your party, but you use 6 of them in both Suikoden and Pokemon, not 3 like you do here.
Totally.
It just doesn't fit right. Like this one, I feel would have been fine with a 5 or 6 person party in battle, but I also love
because the characters
it
have
feels
different
with 3
element
people.
grid, and because the characters have different element grid shapes, you can't do what you do in FF7, where you take literally one person's entire loadout and just stick it on someone else. You can't do that. There's not a feature to do that, and there couldn't have been a feature to do that because the characters had different size grids, right? Because if they had that, you could just be like, take one of your red characters, swap them out for a different red character, and be like, I'm using you now, right? And it'd be like super easy, just like in FF7. You're like, fuck it, I'll use Sid, why not? But in this game, you're like, I don't know if I want to bother using this character or not.
Yeah. Could you imagine if this game didn't have bullpen experience, though?
Oh, God.
Christ, yeah.
And
that'd be a nightmare.
I will say the star system was a little confusing at first, but I actually did like it after a while. Like, it felt really accomplishing to kill a boss because I got something really tangible out of it.
Very tangible, yeah.
Whereas,
I've always liked that about, not to bring up Kingdom Hearts for the 3rd time
oh my God.
this podcast, but Kingdom Hearts 2 added get
this is
bonuses.
a Kingdom Hearts podcast now.
Yes, it is. So Kingdom Hearts 2 added get bonuses where you kill a certain boss and you get certain abilities. And then that's on top of the magic and field abilities that you get at like story points. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 1, you got scan at level 3. If you were playing on proud mode where you don't get experience points, you never can see the HP of somebody because you don't ever get to see it, type thing. And it makes it weird. Where like dodge roll, I think, is another one that you get at a certain level in Kingdom Hearts 1. And it's like, it kind of would be great to have dodge roll for the certain boss, but if you've skipped content or whatever, you might not have it. And it's weird and I don't like it. But the star system is basically the same thing where every boss you make it to the next section, and I like that a whole lot.
Also, in a sense, because generally, like, the number of battles it takes to max out your stats before you get a new star is usually like half the number of battles it takes to actually get to the next boss. So like this game I can see is kind of, this game I feel like this game is very avant-garde in many ways, and most of its innovations didn't really get copied because they were dumb ideas, or because they were weirdly, or because they were just too weird. But I do think this game was sort of a forerunner of the idea, like sort of the modern JRPG idea, where you're doing a lot less battling.
Yeah, and I was actively trying to avoid battles once I started noticing I wasn't gaining anything from them. And of course, that was when I would run into the most battles, when I got nothing out of it. Or, you get to those areas where it's like, you have to kill literally everything. And I'm like, I hate this. I'm getting nothing from it.
Yeah, those parts are very incongruous.
Yeah. But it did feel good when I was gaining HP just from completing a battle, because it was like, oh, I actually did something. Like I'm actually feel myself growing stronger as I'm progressing, instead of just like, I got a bunch of XP, it didn't level me up, so I've got to go kill more shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and just modern day, you see that a lot. You'll see games where you can turn off random battles. You'll see games where the number of battles is even games where you have to have battles. It's just there's a lot fewer than there used to be, because games are like, hey, maybe the battle should be a little more unique. Maybe the game should be more about the graphics and the music and the vibe. And I mean, then of course you have the whole genre of like games like Gone Home, where you just walk around, right? So Chrono Cross is like, yeah, if you want to, you can very much play it in like I'm gonna enjoy the graphics and the music and very occasionally fight a battle. A friend of mine is like, I think this game would be a lot better if there were no battles on the field, if they were just bosses. And I'm like, it kind of already is, because you really can avoid battles pretty easily. So that's that actually is something that was actually, and I'm not saying people copied this idea, they probably just came with it on their own, but that's actually one way in which this game was on the cutting edge. So good on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it was a bad game. I don't think it aged well. And like I said, it is lower on my list, but a lot of that had to do with my own confusion and, just frustrations with how much there was that needed to be done that was kind of esoteric. And so, but I don't think by any means it was a bad game. It was very experimental, and it tried some new things, and maybe some of those things didn't work, but that's what happens when you experiment with shit.
And from our conversations off mic about it, I think had you played this in the year 2000 when all of us had time, you probably would have loved it, because it's a lot of the like issues with this game is there's like a whole lot of stuff to do and no real like waypoints to tell you what to do next. But that's kind of how things were at the time, where you're just like, I'm just going to pick up this game and I'm going to walk around and do some battles and talk to some NPCs, and I'll stumble my way through it, is kind of how you interacted with RPGs at turn of the century. And I know that Final Fantasy VIII was a big one because they only ever give you hillbilly directions and don't put waypoints on your map. And I got lost so often in Final Fantasy VIII. And this was the same way, where it's like, if I didn't write my notes off of an LP where they would be telling me where to go next, there would be several times where I'm like, yeah, naturally I would have just talked to every NPC and just found it eventually, sort of thing. But thus we are 20 years from then and not when that happened. So your criticisms are definitely
20
valid.
Entire years. God, we're old.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that segues sort of into my thoughts on this game. And I think both this game's greatest strength and its biggest stumbling block is being a sequel to Chrono Trigger. I feel everything that happens from it being a sequel to Chrono Trigger, with like Disc 2's entire shtick, is very cool and very important, and I really like everything it has to say thematically and stuff. But I think my big issue with it was that it wasn't... So it was a sequel to Chrono Trigger artistically, and not a sequel to Chrono Trigger as a commodity. And I think if it would have done a little more for the commodity side of it, it would have helped it out. So I like, if it had Akira Toriyama's art style, it would have to change a lot of things. Like, this art style fits the vibe of this game a whole lot, but just talking about a theoretical sequel to Chrono Trigger, if it would have had that art style, similar battle style, time travel, something like that at the beginning, to just kind of remind you that you're here, what you came for. Because the ending of Chrono Trigger ends with Magus trying to go find Shala. So you could have got to Viper Manor and Magus could have revealed himself, and you could have like known the connections after about 4 hours, and would have like gave it a momentum and not really changed that much stuff, just kind of reminded you were playing a sequel to Chrono Trigger, and would have like cleansed the palate in a way to hop on the crazy train that we ended up getting to. And I, having failed to beat this game twice before, I knew what I was getting myself into, so I could look for the tiny Chrono Trigger things. But like, seeing the kids for the first time at the disc change is kind of way too late to remind you that you're playing through something about Chrono Trigger. And I don't know, I really like it. I wouldn't change a thing, but if they had changed a thing, I think it would have this game would have got a fairer shot than it got. Kind of like Harley at the end of the game. It didn't get the ending it deserved, I feel, in the canon of everything. But yeah, I feel like I have more to say, but I don't know what it is. So Maddy, what do you got?
I adore this game. I like it more than I did before I replayed it. I find it very moving, especially playing it right now. I think streaming it probably helped because when I was streaming it, I have this one viewer, shout out to Dave. Dave doesn't listen to our podcast as far as I know, but shout out to Dave regardless, who's one of my first viewers who isn't like someone I know. And he always, well, kind of a funny guy. He's always wanting to talk about like random stuff, right? Which is fine. But also sometimes I'm like, that's a random thing to bring up, sure. But he would bring up like politics and the current situations a lot. And so I got to talking a lot about, about American politics, the Black Lives Matter, the plague that we're living in. And also the game itself deals with a lot of this stuff, right? I mean, it is in some senses not a post-apocalyptic game, but a pseudo-apocalyptic game in certain ways. But anyway, I found it very profound and moving in this time of utter ecological disaster and political turmoil, and just the wheels coming off of society as we know it. The game itself, I think it's very obviously a sequel to Xenogears, and I think that Xenogears is big and huge in anime, and it's also very loosey goosey. Like it's raw, it's emotion. It's actually very easy to latch on to Xenogears. I think it's very easy to latch on to the characters' journey. It's giant and sloppy and loose. It's like a giant hamburger, right? This game is a refinement of Xenogears, but it's also much more low key. It's very much a tightening and a refinement, and it doesn't really work on a character level at all. It works pretty much exclusively on a level of emotion, right? And theme, not emotion of the characters, but the emotion of the themes and of the player playing it, I think. And for the record, I'm not even going to comment on like the objective issues with the game being like bullshit in a lot of ways. Like, that's fine. Like, sure, it's got some game design issues. We've already covered those. Yeah. Sometimes it's annoying, right? Like, sure, whatever. But aside from that, I found it very profound. It's interesting that I'm playing a game where if you ask me, like, what other works of art would you recommend for someone who likes this game, my list would be Ancillary Justice, the science fiction novel by Anne Leckie, Dark City, the Super Mario Brothers movie, Tenet, which I just saw on Thursday, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Cosmic Comics, a novel by Italo Calvino. If you know any of those arts, they have nothing to do with each other. That is one of the most diverse combinations of, and home stuff. That is one of the most diverse lists of media I could possibly think of. Aside from that, they're all science fiction. And yet I think that this game is all of those. And that's just, media that I'm aware of. Someone who has different experience in media with me would come up with a different list, I'm sure. Oh, and Xenogears, obviously. Big helping of Xenogears. And anyway, I'm going to just... I'm going to go over a couple of specific points because it's more of a memorable moment. It's like actual commenting on the game now. So remember how in Chrono Trigger they have that scene about the quote-unquote entity that they're discussing? This game, I kind of said this game was going to bring it back. I wasn't lying, but this game only this game talks about the idea of some sort of god or entity about as much as Chrono Trigger does, which is to say very little. In Chrono Cross, at some point you learn that quote unquote the planet called Terra Tower back to fight Chronopolis, and it's like everybody versus the humans, right? The humans are bad, and the dragons and the fairies and the dwarves and the reptiles are good. They're in tune with the planet. They're not destroying things. And what I said in my little speech that I gave on my stream was that if Chrono Trigger directly suggests that God's life is flashing before his eyes, whereas Chrono Cross shows us why he's dying, which is a very heavy topic. There's a really famous line I thought of the famous line by socialist Antonio Gramsci about how the old is dying and the new cannot be born. And in the meantime, a great variety of morbid symptoms appear. I look around in real life and I see that. And I look around in this game and I see that. And I won't go into my parsing of fate and what exactly fate represents. Spoiler alert, it's neoliberalism. But it does. But Time Devourer is something different than neoliberalism. Time Devourer represent something more than just banal human failings and more of an existential, like, giving up, right? And that final battle, you know what I see? I see that final battle as like, do you think that there's hope for mankind or don't you? Do you think that we can somehow? That's why I listen to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, that's what this is. When you get the good ending, that's what Scala talks about with the whole spermatozoa thing. She's like, eventually mankind is going to transcend into something greater. Or maybe it won't. Maybe it'll descend into nihilism. Like, you have to go one way or the other. You can't just stay in the middle, right? And that's what this game's two endings are. I find the bad ending to be a lot more believable. But the good ending, I feel like the good ending doesn't seem realistic, but you want to hope that it's true. You know what I mean? Like, if I look around, I feel like I resonate with the bad ending. But if I think about my hopes and dreams as a human being and what I believe in my heart, I'm like, no, we're going to get that good ending. We're going to get that fucking good ending somehow or another, right? But this media does join along. Oh, Death Stranding. I'll add that to the list. This this work of art does join a long list of other works of art in which the heroes win in the end, and the win feels like an ass pull. Like the happy ending isn't believable. You know what I mean? Like, the happy ending feels like a cop out. And you know what? When everything out there is terrible, when a happy ending seems so impossible, having a happy ending in your story does feel like a cop out. But you still have to believe in it anyway, right? Is there anything else I want to cover from my thing? I skipped most of it, but final thing. Kid has, I think, a very, very, very important line in this game. Two things. This is more of a memorable moment. When Terra Tower gets destroyed, Sam said maybe it was cut content. Maybe it is. Let's pretend like it's not for a second. When they talk about it, because you're like, it's this beautiful symbolic video of a tower just dying and then sprouting and growing wings and becoming like an angel. And they never comment on it at all. It's just like, okay, that thing sprouted wings and is a giant angel. Okay. But what Kid says, so it's very evocative, but what Kid says, or someone says it, is that it's the final form of the tower, and it takes the final form on death. So it's like, this is what it had always aspired to be. It reached the apotheosis of its hopes and dreams upon death, which made me think, like, when humanity dies, what are we gonna turn into, right? Are we gonna turn into something beautiful? I think this game posits maybe not. Anyway, the other thing is that when that's in that same scene, Scala is giving everyone, not Scala, Kid is giving everyone a pep talk, like, hey, we're gonna go save the day, right? And she says, we're not fighting. I'm gonna get the line wrong. Whatever. She says that we're not fighting to save. Actually, sorry. God damn it. Let me think for about 5 seconds, because this is a very important line. I should have written it down word for word. Anyway, this is not word for word, but she says, we're not just fighting because we don't want to lose something. We're fighting because we don't want to miss the chance to gain something precious. And that's, I think, a really beautiful sentiment. The idea that when you save the day at the end, when you get the good ending, it's not about self-preservation. Self-preservation is what Fate's trying to do. Self-preservation is what the Dragon God is trying to do. Self-preservation is what we're trying to do most of the game. Everyone's just fighting to not die. But she says there's something greater than that. We're not trying to protect ourselves, we're trying to gain something precious. And we don't want to miss our chance to gain that
what
precious
she says is, listen, what's really important is what we do now. The issue ain't whether we defeat that bastard or not. I'm afraid that, depending on how we go about it, we could lose out on gaining something real precious. So the issue is the way we fight.
Yeah, so lose out, and that's the key phrase that I'm commenting on. We're going to lose out on gaining something precious. So the idea that there is something precious to be gained at all is something I think that it's important to hold on to in these dark times. Yeah. that's basically it. I think it's a great game. Also, again, if you had watched my stream, you would have seen me read a passage from the Italo Calvino short story collection Cosmic Comics. I read the final one called The Spiral. The reason I'm saying that is because, seriously, if you enjoyed this game even a little bit, go read The Spiral from Cosmic Comics. There's a PDF of it online. It takes 20 minutes to read it. It's great, and I think it has a lot of thematic overlap with this, and it made me cry a whole bunch. So,
also read Homestuck, because
Homestuck.
and I say read Homestuck every episode, but like specifically Chrono Cross is so Homestuck.
Overlap. Yeah,
because like spoilers for Homestuck, at the exact moment where you think you should get a climactic battle and you have a big thing, you just talk feelings for another 800 pages,
and it's the best part of the entire comic.
It's so fucking good. And this, like, I mentioned this with, I think it was in the Discord where we were talking about Final Fantasy VII, and how Final Fantasy VII is the first time that like the Nomura's style of storytelling, where his science doesn't even try to check out. It's just about the feelings. Like Kingdom Hearts is about the heart and the balance of light and darkness. It is not about like what a heart is and how light and darkness actually interact. No, it's just about the feeling of light, the feeling of darkness, the feeling of your heart. And it just like talks about like the feeling of everything and doesn't care if the science checks out. And I like, because I was writing the notes, I had to like try to figure out how everything connected. But while I was playing it, not writing the notes, I was just like, fuck yeah, this rules, because it just felt good. It was just like, mankind sucks and we need to not suck anymore. I'm like, you're right. It does. Who cares about the future reptites and the past Lavos and how all of that works? It doesn't actually matter. What matters is humans are no better than the big space tick that's eating our planet from the inside out, and
but we can
good.
be,
and that's,
I think is what the game very. I don't think the game makes a super strong case that we can be, but it suggests that perhaps we can be.
Yeah, and Homestuck is similar, where though ironically the science for Homestuck was meticulously researched and it does check out, which is stupid and I love it. But the main things about it is these are 4 kids who kind of had to grow up in basically an apocalypse over the course of like 6 days, and it's good. It's real good. Homestuck is great. So if you liked Chrono Cross, you should read Homestuck, which means now Eli will never ever read Homestuck. Dang it.
You turned me off of Homestuck forever.
Sam, you fucked up, Sam. We're going to cut this, but we're also going to cut it from Eli's brain.
Yes. But
find me something to make me forget Chrono Cross and then compare Homestuck to that.
I mean, Homestuck is like a lot of other things as well.
I shouldn't have, like we said it way back when, that Homestuck and Undertale are basically walking hand in hand through the weebs of 2009. So for that, you should probably read Homestuck. But
I understand.
I apologize for saying that it's Chrono Cross.
I only have so much time, and
Homestuck is basically Twin Peaks: The Return. I'm joking. It's really not. But if it was, you would read it.
I so would. I still need God, I lent my copy of The Secret History of Twin Peaks to someone ages ago and have not gotten it back. And because of the fucking Backstreet Boys having to have their reunion, like, I don't know when I'm going to get it back at this point.
Secret History is so good.
Backstreet should not be back, all right?
Yeah. But, yeah, I think Chrono Cross has made it into my top 5 PlayStation 1 games, but I couldn't list them what they are right now. It feels like it belongs there. Unfortunately for me, the PS1 being my main gaming console growing up, and me also being poor, means I have played probably 10 PlayStation 1 games to completion, because games are expensive and I was poor, but it's probably in the top 5, and it feels very deserving to be there. But it took me completing it. So flashback to before Summer had Storm and I stopped doing the JRPG canon. I posited that you could get what a game was about good enough if you did the first full slice of the game. First full slice of this game would be getting to the end of Viper Manor, and I do not think that if I had done that with this game and stopped, I would like it. But having beaten it, I liked it. So I guess the JRPG canon is a lie, and everyone should just go and mock me on all of those.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of things you can say about games that only apply to games that follow what you might say normative best design practices. Which is not most games, but like a lot of games. Your Super Mario Brothers, your Dragon Quests, your Zeldas, and some games don't follow those conventions because they're doing it badly, whereas other games don't follow those conventions because they're not attempting to in any kind of way. But I think that your thesis of RPG canon is true for any game that is attempting and succeeding to be a quote-unquote normal game.
And to float my own boat for a second and undo the damage I just did to my own ego, I think I would have liked this game, but not got this game.
Yeah,
like, I think I would have
even if
liked
you liked
it as
you
an
wouldn't
RPG.
have actually liked it for the right reasons, because you definitely would not actually get it.
Yeah, and so I think the battle system was good. Its storytelling was good. It split, like it would have the split of the timeline there. That would be really cool. It would have enough stuff in its first 5 or 6 hours that I would like what I saw. But I think the reason that I like it and it's in my top 5 didn't really happen until like you were like the last couple of hours of being Link's.
Wait a second,
like,
you do spend this entire game not being in your body, and you're waiting, and you're wondering, wait, when is he going to get his... God damn it, Twin Peaks: The Return is on the list of games that are things that are like this.
Surge is Dougie.
Like, significantly, like 100%. Like, and even like the sort of ennui of not being yourself, of being out of place and out of time and not knowing what to do and wanting someone to call for help. Like, there's absolutely a lot of thematic overlap there. There we go. Sorry, this is just such a big list.
The Van Gogh place, that's episode 8 when everything just becomes like a fucking art piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Halfway through.
But yeah, like the last couple of hours of being Link's, when it just opens up and it's so dense on all of the things that you can do, and like all of that is just I like what this game is picking up and putting down. And then I like the themes. I just wish they wouldn't have cut Magus from this game, because he was supposed to be one of the main characters, and I think that would have been an easy way to tell this same story as a sequel to Chrono Trigger, and not tell this story that happens to be the next thing that happens at the end of Chrono Trigger. But yeah. Anybody else have anything to say before we wrap this bad boy up?
I don't have anything to say about the game, but I do have a very important shill that we've discussed. Is now the proper time to do that?
First, we should decide what movie we're watching next week.
Yes.
I think it should be the Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I know that there's a good reason to not do it, but I agree with Eli. I want to watch Super Mario Brothers movie, mostly because tonally it is the exact opposite of this. It is happy and it is fun, and also the plot is actually deeply relevant.
Well, I was going to say, while also being like a gritty Super Mario Brothers, like it's so weird how like colorful and bright the Super Mario games are, and then the movie is all like gritty and dark.
Which actually, the movie actually does have something in common with the game besides the plot of the Dino Dimension, which is it's not a sequel but a movie adaptation where you're like, why the fuck is this the direction you picked to go with this? No no one should have signed off on this. This makes no sense as the like reasonable market friendly direction to go with this. Like Chrono Cross, if you're being like a businessman who's in charge of greenlighting games that will make your company money, if they did not do a good job greenlighting Chrono Cross. And similarly, whoever fucking idea it was that it was okay for the Super Mario Bros. Movie to be the way that it was doing terribly at their job. I'm glad because the movie actually rules, but it's like who on earth takes Mario and thinks this is what we're going to do with the movie?
Yeah,
I think we should watch that damn movie.
And incredibly similarly, and now I'm 100% on board, the Super Mario Brothers movie is less an adaptation of Super Mario Brothers and more a like weird version of Super Mario Brothers made by people who really liked Super Mario Brothers. Because like Yoshi being like just like a casual like show up in it, and the Bob-omb and the mushrooms is like the greatest hits of Mario Brothers, but done weird and to the side and not exactly what's going on, which is why like Johnny's corpse was in the fucking ruins, and like you can walk away while an NPC is talking and all of this other shit.
Chrono Trigger is primarily a game about having depression, and you played Chrono. You also helped making Xenogears, but it just so happens to be made by a guy who also has a deep love of Chrono Trigger. Super Mario Brothers is a movie that is very clearly about how you really liked Blade Runner, but it's made by a person who just happens to also have a bunch of references to Mario Bros thrown in there. Like it's like you really liked Blade Runner and Blue Velvet, like.
Yeah. So yeah, it's official. We're watching the Super Mario Brothers movie as our
love it.
This is probably the most tenuous connection, but also best connection we've had so far.
Maybe that's our bit. I think our bit is that they get more and more tenuous as we go on.
Yeah.
So
we play
for
video
Lunar,
games,
the
and
next
it's a video game movie. So
after Lunar, we're going to watch Laguna Beach because it starts with an L.
I will say, this is not as tentative as what we did consider doing, which was just watching Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Because
it's the sequel to a time travel movie, but like that's literally it. So I think we're doing a good job.
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead and shill your shill, and then I will beg for money.
Okay, folks. Well, speaking of begging for money, so the I don't have like this written out or anything, but basically AHS, the Alameda County Health Services, have been in a horrible state of austerity for the last 5 years. They've been in basically like a health crisis for like 5 years. Understaffed, underfunded, not enough, like twice as many people in the hospital as they have beds for the people that are there. People have sharp objects laying around places, dirty, filthy, things where they're constantly like, we need to cut budget. How about the stuff where we help people who got raped? Let's cut that. Just because we got to cut budget, so let's just cut the rape stuff. Anyway, all kinds of horrible stuff. And now with COVID, it's a crisis on top of a crisis, as John Pearson says. He's a nurse at AHS. So the CNA, the California Nurses Association, and also SCIU, so not just the nurses, but also like cafeteria workers and janitors and all that stuff, are all going on a really big strike this week for the Alameda County Health Services to fight for not just better conditions for themselves, but better conditions for their patients, so that they can like do their fucking jobs and save people. Strikes, as always, are a really big deal, and they require everyone's support. If any of you actually live in the Bay Area, I don't think any of our listeners live in the Bay Area, but if you do, send me a fucking DM directly or send us an email, and I'll tell you how you can help out in person with the strike. But if you're just listening to this, you should, and you have the money to spare. I know it's the pandemic, it's tough and all, but if you have the money to spare and you want to do your part, please consider donating to the strike fund. It is, we can put the link in the show notes, of course, but if you just Google AHS Strike GoFundMe, yes, the very first result will be it. So AHS Strike GoFundMe fundraiser by John Pearson, the guy I just mentioned. He's kind of become sort of the spokesperson for the whole thing. Donate to that. All the help we can get. We're doing that on Wednesday. So if you're listening to this, it's probably like tomorrow for you. So not exactly evergreen, but I had to shill it. It's very, very important. I'm shilling it on every stream I do. I'm shilling it for this. I'm going to be posting about it on Twitter. So please do that, and have a great day.
Nice. So speaking of not knowing if we have any listeners in the Bay Area, we might, because we average 40 downloads a day now, which is really fucking cool. Shout outs to all 40 of you that are listening to this, the today in which you listen to this. And every time we release an episode, we break 100 downloads. And then our lowest download day since July 7th was 13 downloads, which used to be a high. And now that's our lowest low.
That's
which
awesome.
Is nuts.
Wow.
Thank you to all of our listeners. God damn.
Yeah, we have recently broke 22,000 all-time downloads, which is just nuts.
Are you fucking serious? That many people
have
an episode has been downloaded that many times.
Enough people have heard me. I'm gonna go hide.
People have on 22,000 occasions opened up their phone device and thought, I want to listen to these bozos in my ear holes for an hour. That has happened 22,000 times. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone would do that to themselves. I certainly don't.
Me either.
Yeah. Shout outs to every one of you, because spoilers, after we play Lunar, the darling game that everyone likes, we're going to play 2 games that you've never fucking heard of. So buckle the fuck up.
We are going to punish each and every one of you for listening to this podcast.
Every single one of you. If you don't like weird shit, get the fuck out now, because it's coming. But speaking of weird shit, we will be watching the Super Mario Brothers movie next week, as a reminder. So let me see where it's streaming, if it's streaming. Let me go to Just Watch. I mean, I own it on DVD.
I don't think it is.
So
I'm pretty sure I've looked before. Also, I've lost my DVD of it, so I may have to do some illegal activities. I have the box for it, but the disc isn't inside of it.
Mario Brothers could not find any streaming offers, so you can't even like rent it anywhere. So
I mean, Nintendo definitely
do what you must.
Movie doesn't exist, so
do what you must. It's what we're watching next week. I will, of course, be mailing my physical copy to my friends Madeline and Elias, and they will be watching it on a physical disc and not doing any sort of untoward activity.
Of course,
definitely.
Yes, but if you like what you heard today, you're fucking weird. Hit us up.
Yeah, what is wrong with you?
First of all,
hit us up
help
on our.
We're mean. Why are we so mean?
Because the fame has got to our head. We have 22,000 downloads. We could be mean to our listeners.
Don't you know who we are?
But if you did like what you heard and you want to keep our lights on, you can hit us up at www.ko-fi.com/rpgbookclub for our Ko-Fi, which pays for everything. It keeps the lights on. It lets us buy cool stuff. I used podcast funds to buy a particular video game, which is the only one of a trilogy of video games that I do not have, that we will potentially be playing very soon. And I did that this week because it was bothering me that I was missing one. So spoilers for Longcast Season 2. But
that's right.
So thanks for all of you
the
people.
Donkey Kong Country trilogy.
Hell yeah. I didn't have Diddy Kong's Quest.
Awesome.
I needed it.
Can we skip 3 though? Can we just play the first 2 out of the 3, and and then we'll just say we played 3, because Kitty Kong can go straight to hell.
Fuck Kitty Kong.
But yeah, you guys let us do shit like that, and that's real cool. And yeah, if you want to just chat with us, you can hit us up on our website at www.rpgbook.club, which has links to all of our socials, to our Twitter, where I'm just retweeting Blacktober drawings, and our Discord, where all of us hang out all the time. And shout outs to we had somebody new this week that wasn't the Game Professor. Also shout outs to the Game Professor, who will be joining us. But shout outs to our new friends in Discord. We've been talking a lot, so I forget who you are.
Sorry, forgot who you are.
Anyways.
Sorry, but we're glad you're here.
Yes, and yeah, I think I said all the words I would normally say. Tonight was weird. Scarlett pissed me off, and I had to leave the room, or I would scream. So I'm in a weird energy. I'm glad I got to talk about a game I really liked. But let's just end it here and go enjoy a tasty treat at Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen,
Dairy Queen.
We need to learn the song.
It's something ice cream with a curl on top. Something grab your mom, grab your pop. I think.
Perfect. We did it.
Yeah.
We learned it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Wait,
I'm Maddy Grace Weber. We're supposed to say our names.
Oh, yeah. I forgot who I was for a second.
Well, Dairy Queen will do that too.
Yeah. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli.
Still Maddy Grace Weber.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
To the fucking loo.
We should not do the Dairy Queen bit when we start Lunar, because we already did the commercial last week, so we don't have very much higher to go. So I think
we really hit peak Dairy Queen.
I mean, I don't think we need to escalate the bit. I think we can. I think we should keep doing it just as an offhanded, stupid thing. Also, we didn't memorize the song yet.
It's true, but I think it might be interesting, especially because we'll have a guest to do a new bit. I already have Dairy Queen jokes written into the notes for this week, so it's going to happen today. But I can't think of a better punchline than the one we already did, so I don't want to stick around for too long.
All right, you might be right. And we have 2 weeks to think of a new bit if we want to do a new bit. What if we expand the lore where Dairy Queen
what if we suddenly
and some other restaurant are in a bidding war for our sponsorship?
That's what I was going to say. What if our next bit is that we're all about Jack in the Box and Dairy Queen fucking sucks?
Yeah, but then it's but then it can be a thing where we're back. It's we're being pulled between them and we can't decide. And emissaries from both companies show up at our headquarters, because we all stream from a headquarters, right? From the RPG Book Club headquarters. Yeah. They show up to our COVID bunker.
The RPG Book Club headquarters in Wichita, Kansas.
Yes, exactly. They show up to they show up to the book bunker with paying tribute to us. One of them brings a blizzard, and the other one brings a that special. What's that special Jack in the Box drink they have? It's like a freezy thingy. I never can
tell you
because it's not their typical bullshit. Anyway, the point is they each they come bearing gifts, and we have to decide. It's a whole thing. It's like the Tailor Princess Kaguya. We send them off to go. We send them off on a quest to slay a dragon to earn our love.